All right, so orientation's locked, I guess. Just wanted to do a video because I've seen a handful of creators that I really like and respect what they do, uh, posting things about their dissatisfaction with YouTube and the gear community and kind of the toxic nature of it. And I made a video a couple of weeks back, which, if you follow my channel, I don't make videos very frequently, but I made a video a couple of weeks back that was kind of going over these tired tropes that happen in the gear community. And I never posted it because I felt like it was kind of snarky. And I think it was just me personally being fed up. So um, I don't think that that's necessarily the way to handle it. And now that I've seen a handful of creators that I respect, um, like John at Sonic Drive and Jerry Trevino and Steve Strelacci, which I just watched his video. Um, just talking about how the gear community and YouTube can kind of be a soul sucking experience. And I've talked to my pal Nick about this a lot too. Nick Hill, who also is a creator here on the channel, as well as a guy I play music with and a buddy of mine. And this topic comes up so frequently, and yeah, I guess I just wanted to say something about it. Rather than me like taking the time to make some super elaborate video with editing and stuff, why not just be direct and talk about it? So, in my opinion, the gear thing is kind of tired. Granted, I love gear, appreciate it. I love music equipment, I love creating, I love music in general. So all of this stuff is appealing to me and interests me on a deeper level. However, the constant back and forth and insults and just derogatory aspects of this whole platform kind of feels gross, and it's really discouraging. Um, I guess if I wanted to break it down in a particular way that applies to me personally, I started YouTube at the very end of 2019, so around my Christmas break of 2019. I did it just because I was bored and I wanted to do something with my time because the band I was in at the time had been slow for a while. So it gave me a new creative outlet and a way to maybe share some information about guitar, particularly baritone. So I was excited about it. I made my first video. It did well. So a few weeks later, I made another one. And then on January 1st of 2020, I was laid off from my job because of a corporate buyout. So that allotted me some extra time for a few weeks that I didn't have. So I made a few more videos. And then I started working again and traveling. So I would make videos on the road in hotel rooms, things of that sort. And then that ended because of the pandemic. So then throughout the pandemic, I had about 2 years of a lot of free time to make videos. That allowed me a lot of freedom to be creative. It allowed me more time to edit videos and put them together in a way that I felt, happy with, or something that spoke to me, but also shared the information. And it also allowed me to kind of dial in exactly what I wanted out of the channel, as well as focus on the community and interacting with everyone on a more regular basis because I had the time to do it. Now, it's hard to have the time to do it at this point. I work full time. I have a wife and a daughter, and I'm also playing music and now doing shows regularly again. So it's been kind of tricky to make the time for this stuff, and that has been my biggest downfall. But also, every time I get motivated to start doing videos again in the past year, I just can't find um, the passion or the energy to just replicate what I've done in the past. I feel like that's boring. It's not interesting to me. It doesn't excite me, which is why the past few videos I put out, there's like little bits and pieces of like editing at the beginning where I'm walking from a car into a building, then playing a playthrough, things like that. Because that sort of thing and that type of editing and creativity with the camera, be it simple, makes the process a little more interesting for me. Granted, I didn't say anything in those videos, I just played an instrument. It was more entertaining and more interesting to me than if I had spent an entire video sharing my thoughts on a piece of gear or showing you how to do a preset on something. I enjoy that too, but it kind of gets tiresome in that I feel like I'm constantly repeating myself, um, which I've done in just this live thing. But in general on the channel, I feel like there's only so many times you can do the same video over and over again and have it be taken seriously, or have, more importantly, you as the person who's creating it take it seriously. And then when you do create something that you are passionate about and that you feel has information in it that would be useful to the people who pay attention to your channel or the people that are in like-minded community, and then your comment section gets full of just insults, people arguing back and forth, about nothing, basically telling you you're wrong because the piece of gear you like is stupid and it's not as cool as this. And there's the whole, again, tired trope shit that I was going to make a whole video about, and I did film it. I'm just not going to release it. Um, the whole real amps versus modeling thing. There's always someone in the thing talking shit about modelers, or it'd be better if you use a real amp, or the guitar you're using sucks, or you're using an LTD and not an ESP, so it's not a nice guitar, or you're playing a Squire and not a Fender, so it's not a good guitar, or you're playing a Telecaster that has humbucker in it, so it's not a Telecaster. Just the most pathetic, baseless, pointless arguments become so prevalent and commonplace here and on all social media associated with gear that it's just like, why? Why do I do it? Why do I put myself through this? And I know this sounds maybe sad or petty, um, but I think the reality of it is that I did it because I was interested in it. I did it because it excites me to share this information. I did it because in certain instances it does help people to get access to this information clearly. So for me to make something that actually helps someone is an idea or a benefit to me, and it's a good idea, but it also is kind of losing its luster in comparison to what it used to be. So that being said, I think that if you're the type of person that goes onto videos specifically about gear just to talk shit about the gear, okay, like great. Uh, I feel like in the future, if I'm gonna make videos, I'm not even gonna respond to any of these things. And I know that response, whether it's negative or positive, is another way to build yourself into the algorithm here. But I don't think any of that shit matters in the grand scheme of things. I don't think YouTube matters in the grand scheme of things. I'm fairly certain that because I've said that, they'll push this even further down the thing. And I really don't care at this point. What I do care about is creating things that I'm happy about, creating things that I feel like anyone that's watching this might enjoy. Um, Creating things with my friends and sharing things that are of interest to me, sharing bits of creativity and gear and things of that nature that actually says something to me in a way, but also I assume will say something to those of you that are watching. I realize this is rambling, but it's just a thing that keeps coming up, and I have a hard time even wanting to mess with it. And yeah, it's becoming exhausting to some extent to know that you're going to put a lot of time and effort into something and then just have everyone tear it the fuck apart or argue with everyone else that likes something else. I think the key element of all of this stuff, especially where gear is concerned and the elitism associated with it, is that what you like is what you like, and what works for you is what works for you. And that may not be what works for me. It may not be what works for the next guy, or it may not be what I like or what that other person likes. But I think if we're able to understand that each player has a different taste, just like we do about everything else, and a different interest in gear and different financial access to gear, if we consider all of those things, it makes a lot more sense just to accept things for what they are, which is just people sharing things they're interested in. being excited about a piece of equipment or a tool that helps you create is a good thing. And I think in the grand scheme of things, that excitement can translate to people that are open to it. But we all know, and I'm just to be clear, I'm guilty of this too. There are certain creators on here that the moment I get a few seconds into their video, I'm instantly like, "Oh God, fuck off." And that makes me guilty of it too. Now, I don't tend to interact, like I'm not like writing the messages typically. Um, but it's I think that's the point. It's better maybe just to leave that shit alone. No one has to know that you don't like something. It's actually a lot easier to be like, I don't agree with this person, bye, rather than say something about it. And I think that's something that we all kind of need to focus on here, maybe a little bit more, and stop being so concerned about the thing you're using being better than what someone else uses, and more so about it just being cool that we're all having access to things, we're all creating things, we're all sharing our experiences, we're all sharing little bits of information that might be helpful. We may be sharing information you already know. We may be showing you something you're very much aware of or more aware of than us. And it's just, it is not, it's not beneficial to tear it all apart. It just isn't. And for me being a musician and someone who, does guitar tech work with a traveling act, as well as travels and plays music myself, and works as an audio engineer and a mixing engineer and all these things. Like, I should come on here and be excited. And I used to be. I should be excited by new gear videos. I should be looking forward to seeing what certain creators are sharing about certain pieces of gear. And at this point, I barely look at it just because I know that I'm going to pay attention to the comment section, which is something I need to talk myself out of. Um, and being okay with disagreeing without having to speak up is a good thing. I think the long and short of it is that the internet is a wonderful thing, and you can learn plenty of things, good and bad. But the social aspects of the internet are very much equal parts good and evil. As much as we have the ability to share our opinions and thoughts with the world, maybe sometimes we don't need to. And that maybe there's a lot of situations in life in which just having our opinions, keeping them in our heads, and not expressing them would be massively more beneficial than actually expressing them. And I know that there's probably going to be someone that goes at me about, well, freedom of speech. Yeah, okay, well, that's not what we're talking about. Sometimes basic things like proverbs and such actually apply. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say it, that sort of thing. And maybe it's just time to kind of lean into that rule. If not for all of you who may or may not see this, but just for myself in general, I think just being okay with walking away from a disagreement, not expressing that all the time, as far as like belittling someone for the gear they use and this and that. I get into little petty squabbles with people on TikTok too, where they just want to talk shit or tell people that the gear they're using isn't good enough or that the type of gear they're using isn't correct, this and that. And it's so exhausting. Like, music is a very precious thing for people. They're very protective about it. They're protective of the things they use to create it. They are protective of the bands they love, and that's okay. But being protective is, well, being protective should not be akin to being defensive, and that tends to happen a lot. So I guess that's where I'm at with it. I love YouTube. I love music. I love gear. I hate seeing creators and musicians on this platform and musicians in real life feel discouraged because someone has to say something stupid. And it's discouraging to me as a creative person. And I can only imagine it's discouraging to other people, enough that they've made lengthy videos as well. So what I'm going to leave it at is that from now on, if and when I create things and post them here, they'll be for my own interest, and I hope that someone gets something good out of it. And if you don't, that's okay. But I also hope that you take that notion and apply it to other creators. That maybe what you're looking at just isn't for you, or maybe the subject matter, even though you disagree with it, uh, can be useful and can be beneficial to someone else and may be what's best for someone else, but not what's best for you. And it's probably just best to leave it that way rather than trying to intercede or insert your opinion. So that is my weird live ramble. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your evening. And I hope to create something cool and share it with you in the future. So stick around, I guess. Thanks for watching if you did.